Hello, I'm Amanda, owner and potter here at White Lotus Pottery, and today I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can make a bowl at home that I will then fire and glaze for you so that you can use it to eat out of, to put a plant in, to do anything you want, frankly. It'll be dishwasher and microwave safe, and you can do all the raw work with materials that you can find in your own kitchen, home, and backyard. So here's what you need to get started. First of all, you'll have to pick up the 2 pounds of clay from me at the studio here. You can use a bowl of water. I have in here a sponge, which will help me smooth some of the surfaces of the clay. I have a plain rolling pin. It's made out of wood. A plain wooden cutting board is also great. You want plain, unglazed, untreated wood because the clay won't stick to it. If you have an old 2x4 or whatever size you have, you can use that as a surface to work on too. Another surface you can work on is canvas. Not everybody has canvas lying around their house, but if you do have canvas, this is great because the clay won't stick to it. If you are working at home on a countertop, anything that's painted, glazed, plastic, marble, whatever your countertop is made out of, the clay will likely stick to it, so you don't want to work onto a surface like that. So that's why I'm introducing wood as an option. Newspaper can also work, though it gets soggy fast. So if your clay's a little bit wet, then this might not be so great either. I'm going to end up using newspaper actually to drape over a metal bowl to get the shape of the bowl that I want. So that's what that's for. You can use a paring knife to cut your clay. You can also use toothpicks or wooden skewers work really well. To decorate your clay, you can also use the same toothpicks and wooden skewers. You can use a pencil, a sharpened pencil. I've collected some leaves from my backyard and some flowers that I might roll and press into my bowl. Letter stamps or any kind of rubber stamp that you might pick up at a craft store. These were like $1 per box, and so maybe I'll write my name in my bowl. So lots of options for how you can decorate your own stuff, or you can just keep your bowl totally plain and simple. It's absolutely your call, and that's the magic of doing these projects at home. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to work today on this plain piece of wood, and the first technique that I want to show you is the pinch pot technique. So I'm going to start by just turning this cube of clay into a ball. Now what I'm going to do is just dig my thumbs right down into the middle of the ball. Now 2 pounds of clay is a lot of clay for one bowl. So you know what, even before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to rip off a little extra that I'm going to use at the end. And because I don't want this to dry out while I'm working with this part of the ball, I'm gonna wrap it up and keep it under plastics. So let's get back to my bowl here. I've obviously ripped off a chunk, but that's okay because I'm just gonna kind of smooth it and pinch it as I go. So as I was saying, this is called a pinch pot, and it's called a pinch pot because I'm literally pinching the clay as I work around and around in circles. And you can see that hole is getting bigger and bigger as I'm just pinching my way. I want to make sure to make the hole deep enough. I don't want a really thick bottom. If I leave the bottom too thick, it runs the risk of cracking or even potentially exploding in the kiln. Gradually turning and pinching, turning and pinching. And as I'm doing this, I'm also kind of shaping my bowl. So I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a curve, and this is where you have artistic license. And you can see the edge of my piece is kind of raw at this point, and that's okay. I can clean it up and do some work at the end. Now, if your clay starts to get too dry and crack, smoothing with your finger should be the first option for how to get rid of cracks. If you really need to add water because your finger just isn't really smoothing, just a damp finger in your water, shake out your hands, and then just smooth a little bit of water over those cracks into the parts that you want to get smooth. If you put too much water, the clay is going to get soggy. Water in cracks makes cracks grow. It doesn't fix them. So smoothing with your fingers is really the best option here. Well, I do like kind of this organic look. I think for this bowl, I want to make my rim a little bit more even. So now, like, I have this big bump right here. So I'm going to take my paring knife and I'm just going to slice right through. An X-Acto knife will also work well. If you're using a sharp knife, kids, make sure you have a parent with you helping you. So now I'm just going to smooth a little bit more. So damp fingers, I'm going to shake out the extra water and I'm just kind of pinching very gently and smoothing this rim now that I've gotten it a little bit more even, and it's still a little bit wonky and wobbly, which I think is quite fun actually. I would let this dry for a little bit and flip it upside down, and then I can add feet to the bottom with the extra clay that I saved. And I'm just gonna break off, I'd say let's do three little balls. Here's a chunk. I'm gonna roll it between my palms here, and I might actually flatten it just a little bit. So I'm gonna roll it on my board, and then I'm gonna just tap the end so I get a flat top and a flat bottom. And there's one foot. Now I'll do another one the same way. So there's my third foot. Okay, they're kind of chunky, kind of fun. I think this one's the shortest one, so I'm just gonna take my paring knife and cut off right through some of that extra. When I cut through, notice I didn't pull the knife this way. You have to slide off metal because it'll get stuck otherwise. To attach a foot or really to attach anything, you're going to need to use either your skewer or a toothpick. So what I want to do here is score the bottom by scratching and just generally making it a mess, and score the place where I want to attach it. So I'm doing little X's one way and the other way, and that's where that's going to stick. So then you need water, which is going to act as the glue. You can use your very damp finger and just tap some water, and be generous here with your water. And then score again. So with your toothpick or your skewer, you're just going to make a mess of the bottom of your foot and the bottom of your bowl where you're planning to stick it. So now that I've done that, I'm going to kind of wiggle it in place here. And this is where it's helpful if your bowl is a little bit drier, because you don't want to put too much downward pressure, obviously. So I'm actually supporting the bottom of my bowl with my finger on the other side as I'm kind of wiggling this into place so that I don't accidentally push too hard. And now I'm smoothing the foot with my finger so that all the extra wet clay is kind of filling the cracks, and I don't have like a real sloppy mess here. And after a while, I find that I really can't wiggle it anymore because it's stuck and it's firm. So I just want that to set up nicely before moving on to my next foot. Now I'm gonna just kind of place these and mark them so that I know where to put each one. And I do just want to show you what this looks like up close. So you can see it's really quite messy. I'm not being shy about going deep, and I'm really just kind of messing it up. So I'm just tapping those feet in to make sure that they're really secure and so that they have a nice even way that they're sitting here. And I'm gonna flip my bowl upside down. So I want this to dry slowly and evenly, which is why I will take my plastic. You can use plastic wrap, you can use a plastic bag, you can use anything, and just drape it over the top of this so that it can dry slowly for at least 24 hours before I uncover it, and I will let it continue to dry upside down like this until it's all the way dry. I recommend that you write your name on your bowl in some way. The bottom is a great place if you don't want your name to be front and center. You can just do your initials, any sort of identifying mark, so that when I am firing everyone's bowls and pieces in my kiln, we'll be able to identify yours when it comes out. Some tips when decorating. I recommend that you do not rough up the inside of your bowl. If you do, you run the risk of making your bowl no longer food safe, because if there's big crevices inside your bowl, bacteria can collect in there and that can be unhealthy. So if you have the inside smooth and leave the decorating for the outside of your bowl, that's going to be your safest bet.